big story of the day. S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, the way he minced no words when the UK Foreign Secretary tried to, believe it or not, lecture India on Russian oil once again. While she said that UK won't tell India what to do, she also mentioned that UK as a country holds Ukraine's interests above everything else. To this, Jaishankar responded with facts, saying that Europe's imports of Russian oil and gas in March were actually more than what they were in February. He added that India isn't even in the top 10 importers of oil from Russia and won't be in the next 3 months as well. While this happened, US Deputy NSA Daleep Singh warned India on Russian oil. He said that Russia won't come to India's help if, quote-unquote, there is a clash with China at the LSE. Well, the US should know that when Galwan happened, India needed no one to respond to China. India is self-sufficient and India is not a proxy to any country. S. Jaishankar set the tone with his strong remarks. It's time that we as a country hold Indian interest first and not be shaken or impacted by the West trying to lecture us on things that are not their problem to begin with. Let's listen in first of all to those strong words which S. Jaishankar had said, of course, to his UK counterpart, and then we'll open this up for debate.
Well, I've outlined the UK's approach to sanctions and the fact that we are ending our dependence on Russian oil by the end of this year, but we're also looking to achieve a timetable with the G7. We've got a meeting of the G7 later this week. I think it's very important, though, that we respect other countries' decisions about the issues that they face. You know, India is a sovereign nation. I'm not going to tell India what to do. What I've said is, as a member of the UK government that has signed up to the Budapest Memorandum, I feel a strong responsibility on behalf of the United Kingdom to take all the action we can to support the people of Ukraine. But that is not the same as going around telling other countries what to do.
Now, I was just reading a report today that in the month of March, Europe has bought, I think, 15% more oil and gas from Russia than it did the month before. If you look at the major buyers of oil and gas from Russia, I think you'd find most of them are in Europe. We ourselves get the bulk of our energy supplies from the Middle East, about 7.5%, 8% of our oil from the US. In the past, maybe less than 1% from Russia. When oil prices go up, I think it's natural for countries to go out into the market and look for what are good deals for their people. But I am pretty sure if we wait 2 or 3 months and actually look at who are the big buyers of Russian gas and oil, I suspect the list won't be very different from what it used to be, and I suspect we won't be in the top 10 on that list.
And of course, that was the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar taking really with very, very strong words on his UK counterpart, reminding Europe, reminding UK of the fact that India buys a very minuscule amount of fuel from Russia. The major buyer of gas from Russia is actually Europe. Interestingly, he countered her by facts. This unscripted but very, very sharp words, a clear testament on how India is going to fend for itself first, and why not? India is going to serve its interests first, and it's not going to be arm twisted by any Western power. That really is a very strong and clear message coming from S. Jaishankar's reaction, which we just heard, to really understand how India is calling out the hypocrisy of the West and really what these words mean for India's diplomacy and, of course, India's relation with Russia US and the rest of the world. I have a panel of experts. I'd like to welcome all of them, starting with Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee. She's a former diplomat. Also joining us is Major General retired Sudhakarji. He's a global strategic and defense expert. Joining us is also Sharat Kohli, senior economist. Madhav Nalapat sir, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, also live with us. I'm going to start first of all with you, Ambassador Mukherjee, ma'am. As a former diplomat, how do you assess and view these words which have been made by the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar? Very, very strong reaction coming from his side, justified, but certainly very strong. As I said earlier, a very clear testament on India's diplomatic stand. India is neutral as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, and we are not going to be arm twisted by any Western power.
But absolutely, Meenakshi, EM's words were measured but very clear. He said that it is the sovereign right of any country, if oil prices go up, to go into the market and get a good deal for its people. Moreover, as I was informed yesterday, because I was on German television, I was told by 2 German members of parliament that Germany will be able to reduce its dependence on Russian oil and energy exports in 2027. So I asked them that if they are going to take till 2027, why is the European Union asking us, when we buy only less than 1%, for India to do it right now? On what basis? Is it because India, as a former colonial country of the United Kingdom, does not have the right to put its core national interests just as the European Union and the others do? The other issue, which External Affairs Minister must have responded privately, is the question that was put rather undiplomatically, in my perspective, by the US Deputy NSA when he warned India that if the Chinese cause any problems, as you rightly pointed out, in the line of actual control, don't expect the Russians to come to our help. The response, if I was told that, is in 1962, did the West come to our help? In Galwan, did they come to our help? And India knows very well that regardless of what we do on Russian oil or on Ukraine, or even if we make the right noises according to what the West wants, when there will be a showdown on the line of actual control between India and China, it is India's armed forces and the Indian people and the Indian government who will be alone in taking on the Chinese and giving them as good as we get. We are not in this business to expect any support from anybody. But it is good to know that the US Deputy NSA knows that China is a threat to international peace and security, because he was virtually warning us that there will be problems on the line of actual control and that Russia is in China's pocket. So these are very, very troubling issues, Meenakshi. And the External Affairs Minister, when he pointed out the statistics, as you rightly said, it was in a way also underlining the double speak of the US, that those who buy Russian gas and oil and are continuing to do so and who have stocked up their strategic stockpiles in March 22, they are the ones who are now coming to India to lecture a sovereign country on what we should do. So
absolutely, and that's the hypocrisy of the Western world which has been exposed today by India. And Major General Sudhakarji, if you could come in here, sir, just to take, Ambassador Mukherjee's thought forward. Speaking of Daleep Singh, just look at the statement which has been made. Patronizing, menacing, adjective falls short really to describe, how he tried to literally threaten India. Far as India is concerned, of course, the strong reaction which has come from the side of the MEA has very clearly stated how India is not going to really, listen to any foreign power. But I don't want to sound oversensitive, but really, who is the US to sermonize us? Look at their own history. They, of course, have a trail of wars. Afghanistan, the way they have exited that country, that really, is an indication of how recklessly the US has behaved. And today, they are pointing fingers in India and threatening India. And yes, when they speak about taking on China, India has always known, as Ambassador Mukherjee also said, that when it comes to sending troops on ground, nobody does that. Ukraine really a living example of that, isn't it?
Meenakshi, good afternoon to the co-panelists and the viewers. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. You have virtually caught me in transit, and my lighting system is not adequate paid, but nevertheless, I must compliment the ambassador for having covered it so well. And more than that, it's very heartening for a soldier, and particularly when we have very distinguished panelists like Mr. Nalapat today. It's very exciting and very heartening to hear the voice, the real sound of the resurgent India. One has been reading a lot and writing a lot. The resurgent India is actually talking in true, real, simple articulation. One is feeling very proud. Having said that, well, less said the better. Where have you found as a superpower? I'm actually distressed to communicate in this manner. A superpower without a vision, without a strategy, without a concept of operation, going into Vietnam, going into Korea, going in anywhere for that matter, be it Bosnia-Herzegovina, Iraq, Libya, name a country, where has it come out successful with a good reputation and image in the world order? Even when it was a bipolar world, I would say a better sense prevailed in the other hemisphere of the global geography, the strategy. So today, going back to the comments that you are actually expecting me to respond to, all I would say that those who live in glass houses should stop throwing stones at others. If it's sensitive and sincere, well, why haven't they stepped into a country like Ukraine? Why did they go in for a disorganized, most highly humiliating as a soldier, as a superpower, the way they withdrew from Afghanistan? What did they do in Iraq? They claim that they have collapsed the backbone of the ISIS. What backbone? The ISIS is re-emerging. More I study, I find it they're proliferating all over the world. ISIS Khorasan has declared, Daesh had actually given an announcement in 2014 that the map of the Allah is going to be writ large all over the face of earth, including India. Al-Qaeda gave announcement of jihad in India. Nobody other than Osama bin Laden. Terrorism, we have been fighting against the terrorism all by ourselves. Who has helped us? Who has helped us to have our feet on the ground?
And India is perfectly, point taken, sir. Point taken. India is perfectly capable of defending itself. And you raised two very pertinent points. One, you spoke of a resurgent India, which is very vociferously making its stand very clear, very strongly. We are putting forth our opinion in front of the world, not being worried about who we are going to offend. And second, really about the hypocrisy of the Western world. And I'll take both these points one by one. Sharad Kohli, if you could come in here. Speaking of the hypocrisy of Europe, of US as well, let me just run our viewers through some numbers. So, India imports 80% of its crude oil. The amount which we import is 193.5 million tons. This is in the last financial year. Yeah. This is just 2%, I reiterate, of all the oil which we import. Doesn't really it show, or doesn't really it go on to prove the fact that India is being hounded for this 2% being called out on international forum by all these so-called European and Western powers? Doesn't it go on to show exactly what Jaishankar said, that there is a propaganda against India, considering that these European countries are buying 15% and more, of their gas needs from Russia, and their imports have only gone up in the last 1 month, ever since Putin invaded into Ukraine.
Meenakshi, it is, even if it's 2% or it's 0.5%, how does a percentage matter? I make a very bold statement.
Okay.
Even if we were exporting 100% from Russia, so what? It's none of your business to come and intervene. A country, and we look at United Kingdom, a country known for betrayal. You are living in your colonial past. I think Prince Williams and his wife, they went to the West Indies last week. I think all of us know what happened there. What kind of welcome. They could dance around with some tribals in Jamaica or Barbados or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, there were flag-based protests everywhere, and the message was, get lost. Forget about your colonial past. Look what you have done to the 70 countries whom you ruled. You made slaves out of them. They have to step out of their skin of being the kings and the queens and the princes and the princes. I think the days are gone. They have no more the right to dictate terms on any of the Commonwealth countries. Forget about India. As for India, I think India has emerged as a resurgent, as a powerful, as a bold country now. And I can tell you with conviction, Meenakshi, that whatever statement UK may make, whatever diktats US may pass, I think India can very, very safely ignore. In Hindi, they say, एक कान से सुनो, दूसरे कान से निकाल दो. Damn it, you cannot do anything to India. As of today, you will see that India will be a country which these countries who are trying to dictate today will come and beg to be on their side when they are in trouble. It's a matter of time. You wait and see what happens in 1 or 2 years. I think India can not only say this, but can safely ignore. In fact, India can refute. India must counter these agreements, by these diktats, by saying that, get lost, none of your business, we'll do business on our terms. You don't need to teach us where we buy our oil from.
Yes, well, absolutely. I mean, yes, S. Jaishankar did not use, the language which you did. The indignation, righteous. Fair enough, sir. The indignation is righteous, and I agree with with you on that point. But if you really look at the crux of what the EAM said, it was literally telling the UK, mind your own business. Please do not interfere. We will look at our interests first, and why not? Madhav Nalapat, sir, if you could come in here. Since we're speaking of this resurgent India, this India, which is not shying away from expressing itself, which doesn't shy away from calling out a foreign dignitary, on their face during a live press conference. If you really look at S. Jaishankar's reaction, him calling out, his UK counterpart looks quite unscripted. It doesn't look like, that he had to take a government approval or he had to take some sort of approval of his seniors before calling out, a foreign dignitary in front of the press. It really is a testament, and I don't want to politicize it, but really is a testament of how India's diplomacy, our stance also has changed, and this is an India which is not going to listen to these diktats by any foreign power. We are going to look at what serves our interest first, and rightly so.
Well, I'd like to agree with what you said about EAM Jaishankar's riposte. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I'd also like to agree with our three distinguished co-panelists. Each of them said absolutely what the situation is like. I would like to point out, Meenakshi, we're all talking about oil and gas here.
Okay.
These demands on India have nothing to do with oil and gas. They want us to break our 70-year-old trusted alliance with Russia. That is the purpose that is their purpose. Whether it is Liz Truss or this chap, what's his name? I forget the fellow's name. Some guy who came here from America. That chap, whoever.
Daleep Singh?
The Daleep Singh ji.
Yeah.
Sir, better to forget.
Well, anyway, look, what I want to say, their purpose is to make sure that the India-Russia relationship is broken so that India then has to go, in their mind, crawling to their corner. I want to ask this Daleep Singh ji, this cricketer or whatever, two questions. One, has he identified the Sino-Wahhabi network inside the United States, including the Biden administration, including key corporates, including media houses, that is basically trying to promote the fiction, that China is with us, it's India that's against us, something which Mr. Singh seems to have bought completely. The Sino-Wahhabi caucus is very, very powerful in the United States, and if Daleep Singh ji is not a deputy, but even if you were a clerical officer in the national security establishment, he would want to look into that. The second point I want to make to Ms. Truss and Mr. Daleep Singh ji is very simple. Why are you people crawling to Xi Jinping then? If Liz Truss is saying, in secret, my God, it's China, the lady can't even call out Pakistan as a terror state. She's too terrified to name Pakistan as a terror state in public. You've seen the way she squirmed when she was asked that question. That poor lady was squirming when we talked about Pakistan, and she must have been squirming at EAM Jaishankar's reply. But I want to ask a simple question. Why are the leaders of the EU, the UK, and the US and Canada running to touch the feet of President Xi? Well, I mean, what are you talking about? You tell us in private China is a big enemy, of course. And then you say, no, but really it's actually Russia first. China we can take care of later. Oh, take care of later. So China's threat is not there now. It will be there later. In the meantime, you go begging to China. I want to ask Daleep Singh ji and Liz Truss, if you think that, if you really are sincere that China is the enemy, then why are you all running to Beijing to touch the feet of President Xi, number one? Number two, Mr. Daleep Singh ji and also Liz Truss, have you checked on the power of the Sino-Wahhabi lobby in your own countries? It's a very powerful lobby there, much more powerful than in India. I have been tracking it as an ordinary professor with a small research department and a small research team. I'm sure you got a research team. And why is it that you have not woken up to the reality? The real enemy is in your midst. People who are sold out to the Sino-Wahhabi lobby and who are trying to poison relations with India and trying to basically put Russia as the enemy, as in Cold War 1.0, when today it is China and Cold War 2.0.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, when you speak of this lobby, sir, we've time and again exposed it on NewsX as well. And it's interesting really to see the Western world's stunning silence. You rightly said on China and Pakistan and them unnecessarily needling India. Ambassador Mukherjee, you know, when we speak of this statement which has been made by the US Deputy NSA Daleep Singh, very interesting. As you also had earlier pointed out, where was China when Galwan happened? Where was US when Galwan happened? Where was US when India had fought wars with Pakistan and with China? It is India which has fought all these wars, you know, on our merit, and we don't need the support of any foreign power. If they think India needs the US, US also needs India. How are they planning to counter China without the support of India?
First of all, Meenakshi, this Mr. Daleep Singh, or whatever his name is, he's a very minor player. He doesn't matter to us at all. We can safely ignore him. But Joe Biden should remember, the US president, that in his telephone conversation with Xi, when he raised the topic of Russia, Xi Jinping told him that there's an old Chinese proverb that if you put the collar on the neck of the tiger, you must take it off yourself. That, in my perception, as a diplomat, is neither polite, nor is it conciliatory, nor does it give any indication that Xi is going to abandon the Russian Federation. On the contrary. Secondly, you were talking about India having come of age. Let me tell you, Meenakshi, that even when we were economically weak, we never allowed people to come and hector us. When Yugoslavia was falling apart, there was a foreign minister who is now gone, who was also from the same party. And when he was given a lecture of how India should manage Kashmir, he said, Meenakshi, and I'm saying it on your channel, he said, the Balkans is like undigested meat in the belly of Europe. But does India prescribe digestive medicine? No, it does not. I was so proud of India the day the External Affairs Minister said this, because it shows that we could have been at one point economically weak, but never, having come through 180 years of colonial rule at the hands of the British, for which no apology has ever been given for all their human rights atrocities, we are not going to take any lectures from either the British or this gentleman of Indian origin who is now posing as an American, or anyone else. We go by core interests.
Well, absolutely. And that's point taken, ma'am.
Interest is in our interest.
Yes.
So I think we can safely leave Mr. Daleep.
We can absolutely safely ignore them, absolutely. And as far as India's diplomacy is concerned, India has always chartered its own path, and we are not going to be bogged down by any of these diktats and unnecessary sermonizing which is coming our way. But, you know, Sharad Kohli, sir, as an economist, and just to play the devil's advocate, I don't have much time remaining for the debate. But as far as Russia is concerned, news has been coming in that Russia is offering a steep discounts on oil, about $35 a barrel. They're also offering us a, you know, ruble-rupee deal. How do you view these developments? Do you think India should take these deals, or do you think that if India does take a lead, you know, when it comes to circumventing SWIFT, it could end up testing the patience of the US, perhaps drawing the ire of the Western world, or should we not bother about it at this moment at all?
Two reasons, Meenakshi, why we should not delay the deal at all. One, for all the good reasons we've been discussing so far, that this is a different India. We are world's 5th largest economy. We are no weak dog sitting over there somebody can bully around for that reason. Second, more for the economic reasons. You see, every $10 increase in the crude price takes our inflation, our domestic inflation, up by 0.2 to 0.3%, 20 to 30 basis point. I mean, it may sound like a very normal amount for a viewer of NewsX, but in economic terms, it converts to a lot of money when it hits your home budget and your pocket. So I think all the good reasons for India to accept this without any further delay, because the more of expensive oil, Meenakshi, we buy, we are having a cascading effect on the inflation in the weeks to come.
And,
you can see
we
your
can stem that. Point taken, sir. Point taken. I'm running out of time and I'm trying to squeeze in, one answer very quickly from the other two panelists as well. Madhav Nalapat, sir, we are seeing what's happening in Sri Lanka. Of course, as far as India is concerned, we are nowhere, near that situation. But inflation does affect the economy of a country. How do you view these offers by Russia? And would you agree with Sharad Kohli that India should go ahead and take these offers, considering that is one way in which, the Narendra Modi government can also blunt the effect of inflation due to the rising fuel prices, which has happened due to the Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, 100%. And I'd like to say I am in favor of working on a pipeline between Russia and India via Iran and, may I say, Pakistan. And the safety in Pakistan should be guaranteed. Russians should ask the Chinese, who claim to have a limitless relationship with them, that please safeguard it. It's our oil, it's our gas, and you are our limitless friend, so you better safeguard it. So the Chinese will have to guarantee that it will pass safely through Pakistan. I agree with Dr. Kohli. He's an absolutely right.
Yeah.
The more oil we buy at a discount, the better for our people. And I know whether it is Daleep Singh ji or Liz Truss or whoever it is, I mean, I don't know who, but she seems to be a closet Europeanist like Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know what all the fuss about Brexit was all about. It's very clear that most of the Tory party are actually closet Europeanists. And they just talked about Brexit in order to get some voting. And people like Dan Hannan and others who are genuine Brexiteers have been excluded by Boris Johnson. So the other point I want to make very, very, very clearly is that, I think we should check the social media profile. He should release it of Daleep Singh ji and find out his personal social media account. I am reasonably certain, as a hypothesis, as a working hypothesis, the man must be viscerally against the government of India, elected by the people of India.
Yes.
If you check the social media accounts, if you find that out, and if it is true, it just shows how clumsy the Biden administration is. You have somebody who on social media, I mean, it is very likely, I don't know about it, but if you check it out, if he's abusive of India and the Indian government, and you send this man on a diplomatic mission, and the man is so undiplomatic, he can't resist putting both his feet in his mouth at the same time, almost every hour. What kind of diplomacy is this? I've never seen an administration in greater disarray than under Joe Biden. I'm really sorry to say. I like Joe Biden. I mean, I still like him as a human being, but I've never seen an administration as much in disarray as this. And the proof of this is sending this, what's his name? I forget. Whatever. Who cares? The fact is, India, the man is the very
closing remark.
Point taken. Point taken, sir, and that's a great suggestion. Noted down as well. Right, suggestion noted down as well, and we will look at the social media account of Daleep Singh as well. Last word to Major General Sudhakar ji. I have about 30-40 seconds remaining to conclude the debate, sir, since we had briefly touched upon China, and S. Jaishankar had said that all these talk of sanctions, all these sanctimonious talks where India is reminded of the so-called moral compunction when it comes to buying oil from Russia. It seems like a campaign, it seems like an agenda, considering that there is a conspicuous silence on China as well. How do you react to it? What do you think really about the West's hypocrisy, calling out India, and in stark juxtaposition, the silence on China?
General, just a 5-second comment. Just a 5-second comment before you speak. I think Boris Johnson is better off celebrating his parties rather than making comments on such thing. He's
point taken, sir. I apologize. I've completely run out of time. I can only take one comment from Major Sudhakar ji, and I have about 30 seconds. Only 30 seconds to you, Major General Sudhakar.
Meenakshi, in one line, a supervillain, global supervillain is gradually turning into a superhero. That is for all of us to acknowledge. Either we be with him or we are against him. Or rising China was the common enemy which nobody other than US itself had identified a couple of months back. The pullback from Afghanistan was so disorganized when people started pointing fingers, their own men in US. The reply given was that there is another theater of operation emerging. Indo-Pacific was chosen as the pivot of Asia shifting that side. How is suddenly a super villain of the world who created this Wuhan virus is turning out to be a superhero? That is the answer to your question. Back to you, please.
All right, far as India is concerned, India has made its stand absolutely clear. S. Jaishankar minced no words when it came out to calling the West's hypocrisy a very clear word for the Western world, for the Europeans. India is very well capable of protecting itself. We do not need these Western powers to come and sermonize us. Jaishankar's word certainly has set the tone for India's strong diplomatic stance, testament really of how India is not going to be arm twisted by any of these diktats by these foreign powers. On that note, I'd like to thank all my experts. It's a wrap on this debate. On the other side, another special debate lined up.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.